Welcome to the Golfish Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Goodman. Every week on the show, we're going to bring you fascinating interviews with the people behind the players of the PGA, LPGA, Champions Tour, and beyond. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the action. This week we have Marni Ines, Titleist Director of Product Development for irons. Marni and I discuss how he and his team develop irons, the impact that small adjustments can have on your game, and overall what golf means to him. Marni is known for his ability to talk golf for hours, and I'm sure you'll find this episode and his deep knowledge of the game intriguing. If you've wanted a further look into one of golf's top brands and the amazing employees behind the scenes, then this episode's for you. Let's get started. Well, hey, Marni, how are you? Welcome to the Golfish Podcast.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I have heard a lot about you from JJ, who had been on the podcast a few weeks ago. So no pressure. You're just living up to a lot of hype from him. So.
Oh, boy.
So really, we'd love to know more about you. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your background in golf?
Wow. Who am I? That's an interesting question. Really just a kid that grew up here in San Diego for the most part. Kind of a military brat. I've lived, in interesting places like Naples, Italy for a few years. And
oh, wow.
Philippines for a few years in early childhood. But for the most part, everything was here in San Diego. And, with the wonderful weather we have here, I even decided to go to school here at UCSD. Eventually got my mechanical engineering degree and, started working here in San Diego County, which wasn't originally in golf.
Oh, okay.
And so, I actually started designing different kinds of equipment from, inkjet printers to cell phones to sort of like cable equipment, a lot of things that really allowed me to flex my mechanical engineering degree for sure. And it wasn't until I had essentially a friend from college call me up one day and say, "Hey, do you play golf?" And I was like, "No, not really." It's like, I said, "My grandfather plays golf, but I never played golf. It's isn't that kind of for older people?" And he's like, "No, you need to play golf." So eventually I from the point of him calling me and telling me I needed to play golf, we went down to the local pro golf discount. He pointed out a set, and it was this off the rack set, 14 clubs with a bag for $90. So there, just buy that. And he said, and within probably an hour and a half to 2 hours of him calling me, we were on the first tee at a little executive golf course called Mission Bay Golf Club. And so, of course, not really having played the game, nor even really hit balls for that matter,
mm-hmm.
we're rolling it. Well, I'm rolling it around the golf course, and on the back nine, there's a par 4. I tee up the 3-wood from the set, and I just pure one down the middle. And it was at that moment that I knew this game was going to be something special for me. And ever since that day, I've been beating balls, going to the range, finding out more about the game, and eventually looking for a job in golf club design, which was back in, 2000, right? And that's when I originally got into the golf industry back in July of 2000.
That's awesome.
So.
I mean, it's so interesting because when you and I were chatting before this, you were like, we can talk about whatever, but I can just talk to anyone about golf for forever. And I personally didn't grow up with golf in my life either. And I found it during high school and then took a break during college and kind of reinvigorated myself with the sport later. And I am not good by any stretch of the imagination, but I just love the sport and the people that are behind it. And that is what has just kept me going and so interested in it. And obviously what drove me to do this podcast. So it's so interesting to see that not everyone had golf as just part of their life growing up. And it's still such a thing that you can get involved in at any point in your life and become interested.
And, what's funny is that, I say that, and it's because I told you, like, my grandfather golfed. He introduced my dad to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing was, it wasn't probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, I was looking through some old pictures at my dad's house. And here it is. There's a picture of him at a golf tournament way back, I don't know, must have been in the 1960s, right? And he's at this golf tournament. And right next to this picture is another picture of me as a young boy with a plastic golf club in my hand. And I'm just ecstatic. It's crazy. And then, I pointed this out to my dad and I said, what happened? I'm like, look right there.
Yeah.
The signs were there. How come I didn't take this game up, much earlier? And like I said, especially since you had as well. And, really it was because my dad was a doctor, OBGYN, and he wasn't home a whole lot, when we were young. So, wasn't a lot of time for us to play golf together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, was your grandpa close? Like later on, did you have the opportunity to play with him?
Just a little bit, because by the time he was living with us, there was a period where he was living with us. He just wasn't as active.
Mm-hmm.
He's much older. He was in his early 70s at that point and not playing a whole lot.
Got it.
But to your point earlier about the people, it's just like the cross section of people that I've met in this industry. It's like you said, it's so much fun because, there's older people, there's younger people, from kids all the way up to seniors. Some of the people I play golf with on a regular basis are, they're in their mid 70s and still shooting in the 70s occasionally, which to me is just amazing to think about, that you can play this game at that level for that long.
Right.
I don't know how many things there are in life like that
you can do that. Yeah, absolutely. So that's really interesting. So how often do you get out to play?
Well, usually I'm a once a week golfer. In the summertime, I can break away after work and get some twilight golf in.
Yeah.
Because the club that I'm a member of is really not far from work.
Oh, okay.
It's about 7 or 8 minutes drive away from where I work. So it's really not difficult for me to get over there.
That's the reason I say it's so interesting is because it seems like everyone I've talked to so far has just been like, when you're in the industry, you just don't get to play as much. You're a big advocate for the game, but you don't get out as much. So that's awesome that you are able to not only work in the industry and be an advocate for the industry, but to continue to play the game that you love, because that would, kind of defeat the purpose, right? Not being able to ever play.
Right. And I think I am fortunate because, it is so close. I can go once or twice a week, you know, and instead of going out to lunch with the guys, I can just go to the range and beat balls.
Right.
And I love to do that. So, it's one of those things. I think my personality type, this game, the fact that you can never perfect it, it fits. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your role with Titleist?
So my formal title is Director of Product Development for irons, specifically.
Okay.
So that just involves the design and development of all the irons product for Titleist Golf.
Got it. And what do you do? Like, how do you work with the players, or like with JJ when he's out? Are you part of like R&D, or how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. So it's R&D role, and day in, day out, I'm mostly in an office, right?
Okay.
So I'm in an office working with my team to design, the future lines of irons for Titleist. So that means, making mock-ups, creating specs, and yes, working with closely with our tour staff to get the feedback that we need from the tour players to help us refine our designs. I do get to go out to the tour a couple events a year, and when we have product launches, I get to go out there as well to introduce the product to a few of our key players that we'll use for our media promotions.
Okay.
And so that's fun, but certainly getting out there with new prototypes on tour, working with JJ, essentially we bring this stuff out, we have tour players hit it next to their gamer clubs, they give us their feedback, and we use that to help us refine our designs, so that really by the time a club comes out to the market, it's been heavily vetted by tour, especially if it's a tour type product.
Okay. How often, I mean, and this is my naivete of just this part of the industry, how often are you releasing new clubs? I mean, is it like Apple products where everyone's like, oh, Titleist is going to release at this date and this time, and we all need to wait for this? Or is it more fluid?
It's a little more fluid. So for us, it's because we have what's called a concept product line. So we have products that are more standard in terms of we have an irons product launch typically every 2 years, right? And you'll see that happen in the fall. It's just happened for us. I don't know if you noticed. We just released a series of irons called the T series, and the 620 series as well. Just last week was when they were all available for retail.
Oh, okay.
And the previous generation of that was released in 2017 in the fall. And so you can expect another of that type of launch again in 2021.
Got it.
However, this other line of products that I told you about, the concept line, have you heard of this one?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so this product line is one that basically my boss and the executives told us, hey, you can knock yourself out. Go ahead and design, an iron that, without no holds barred. You can use whatever materials you want, whatever processes you want, and just try and make the best performing product that you can.
Yeah.
And that product line in particular is not so much rigidly scheduled. It will happen as your innovations come through, right? So if you happen to have a technology that you want to put into another concept iron, you can start developing it then, and when it's finished is when you're going to end up launching it, right? Versus the other products, like I said, we know that, to maintain our core business, we have a certain range of products that we'll release every 2 years.
Okay. So with the concept line, when you talk about like illegal golf clubs, do you go in and you're like, we're just going to make whatever this is, and then if the tour wouldn't use this, then you kind of refine it to what the tour would use, or do you go in with those constraints at the beginning?
We do go in with that constraint. So we have not yet made the decision to make anything that's non-conforming, and I don't see that for anywhere in the near future changing. That's just kind of who we are, at the moment and what we've decided to do. But, that doesn't mean that you can't do interesting things.
Yeah.
Because we believe that people did see a significant performance benefit from the first two products that we released so far.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
A lot of fun to make. Yeah, you can imagine that those types of products, when the handcuffs are taken off like that, there's a lot more exploration to do, and there's a lot more options at your disposal.
For sure.
To try and design something.
Can you tell us what would be considered non-conforming, or why something is considered non-conforming?
Okay, so for irons, there's a couple of things, right? So I think similar to wedges, you may have heard that there are the grooves on an iron and a wedge can be non-conforming, which will cause you to have non-conforming levels of spin.
Okay.
And the only reason to do it would be to try and get more spin, right? So everybody's trying to look for ways to generate more spin, especially on short irons and wedges, to be able to hold the green easier, especially from lies like the rough, right? When you're hitting irons and wedges from the rough, you're going to get less spin, and therefore your ball is going to roll out farther in the green. So by, making grooves bigger, deeper, wider, you can get more spin. However, the USGA has limited their design, right? So, and you can't make them non-conforming if you're not careful, because everybody's trying to push the limit to get the maximum spin within the rules. Another thing that you need to be careful of is in this day and age, the coefficient of restitution, the COR. So people talk about this a lot for drivers. However, there is a similar restriction for irons as well. So you can make the face so flexible that it adds more speed than the USGA would prefer you to add, right? So there's a limit set on that. And by doing interesting things with the face technology, you really can affect that to be non-conforming if you wanted to. However, like I said before, we've chosen to keep everything in the conforming range, but as close to that limit as our manufacturing tolerances allow.
Yeah, absolutely. So just thinking about this morning, so I can't think of, and I reposted, I'll have to look. Golf Digest maybe posted about the long driver that was, actually, let me go to it right now. The long driver that was trying to hit the green on the 555-yard par 5, Justin James. Did you see that? Yeah, it was Golf Digest. So are clubs that long drivers using, are they non-conforming, or are they conforming and those guys and girls are just like that strong and have that much power behind those?
Actually, you know what? I'm not sure, because I would imagine that they would have some sort of, again, COR limit as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of them use product that is mainline product. Like I've seen quite a few Callaway drivers out there, and some other brands. But there's also a lot of brands out there that aren't really mainstream.
Oh, okay.
And so, not having measured their products, like I know that the other mainline products are typically legal. I don't know that they make non-conforming product for long drive, but I think a lot of it comes from in those products is just the fact that the shafts are a lot longer than you will typically see in our clubs for mainline product.
Got it. What have you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say, I believe that they're using typically 48-inch drivers out there versus your typical driver for most mainline products is around 45 inches.
Got it. What would you say are some of because you've been doing this since 2000, what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen that players may be asking of you, that coaches are asking of you, and that you're getting all this feedback and you're like, all right, since in the last 19 years, these major things have shifted as we've been designing?
Yeah, it's really interesting because there has been since 2000, drivers have got a lot of press, right? So drivers have moved the marketplace to focus on hitting it far. Just everybody wants more distance with their driver. And that's sort of bled into even the irons portion of the set. So people want to hit their irons farther. The challenge has come with, in order to do that, a lot of times you're going to end up using stronger lofts, which means stronger lofts typically bring the ball flight to be lower launching. And so the challenge is to design it so that you can get that launch angle back and provide the same distance gains with the stronger loft. So between using new materials, heavy materials like tungsten that we use in almost all of our irons to change the center of gravity location, that along with the face technologies that have been developed in modern irons have really allowed us to be able to give the best combination of launch with ball speed and a decent amount of backspin as well to give our players that more optimum trajectory.
When you're doing this, when you're like going through all of this, do some players' comments or feedback hold more weight than others, or is there always kind of a product out there for whichever type of player you are?
I mean, there's certainly players that we certainly have players that are higher in the world golf ranking, right?
Okay.
So certainly when you're getting feedback from those players, it has some weight to it, right? So, but that's not to say that collecting the feedback from a larger crowd of players that we have, because we do have a very large tour staff.
You do, absolutely.
And it's not just on the PGA Tour. We also have a lot of players on the Korn Ferry Tour as well. We have LPGA players. We have Champions Tour players. And we have reps for most of those tours who do collect and give us feedback from those various players on the different tours. And a lot of them will send us updates weekly about what's going on. And so when I see the feedback from them, I will typically fire back. Like they'll say, hey, so-and-so just changed his irons from this to that, right? And so I will ask the question about, well, okay, so tell me more about that switch. Like why did that player prefer the T100 iron over his previous generation 718 irons? What is he saying about it? Like, because from a design standpoint, an engineering standpoint, I know what we designed in for the player, but I want to know what benefits they're realizing or that they're perceiving when they actually use the product, right? Because robots and player testing don't always equate to the same perceptions that a tour player gets.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what are some of those things that they're saying, or what, and when someone makes that switch and they say those things, are there times when someone makes a switch and then a couple of tournaments in, they're like, you know what, maybe I was wrong, and they go back to what they had before?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because think about it. It's their livelihood that these are their tools, right? So
right.
If their confidence is not at a high level with the tools in their bag, I can understand why a player would go back to something that they've either had more success with or just more comfortable with in general, right?
For sure.
I can tell them all about the benefits of the club that they're switching to, but if in their mind they are not confident that they're going to get the results they want versus their old clubs, imagine it can be very easy to fall back on, right?
Absolutely.
And what's great though is that those cases are few, right? We have more cases of our players switching to the new products and realizing the benefits and moving forward from there. But as with most things, you're not going to be 100%, and there are going to be players that have their issues. There's no getting away from that completely.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And are you based at Titleist Performance Institute, TPI?
No. So
Okay.
I'm in our Loker facility, which is in Carlsbad.
Oh, okay.
TPI's up at Oceanside, and I get to use that facility quite often.
Yeah.
It's about a 20-minute drive north from our office, though.
Is that in like 20 minutes California time and like 3 minutes in a normal city time, or?
No, I think it's 20 minutes normal. I mean, there's stoplights along the way.
Oh, that's not too bad then.
It really shouldn't take that long, but yeah, there are quite a few stoplights along the way. So, it's not like I'm having to sit on the freeway
for days.
The whole 20 minutes. So
exactly.
it shouldn't be that way. I certainly wish that facility was a lot closer, but it's still a great facility to have access to, and we use it as often as we can. It's just, I do believe that we would use it more if it were a little bit closer.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
We still use it quite a bit, even with it being 20 minutes away.
Are players coming like during their off season, or if they have an off couple of weeks and they're kind of rejuvenating their game and trying some new things, are they coming to you? Are you going to them? How does that interaction with the players work?
Yeah, both. So, like I said, I get to go out to tour a couple of times a year, a couple of events that we'll pick. And whenever I'm out there, I've developed enough relationships with some of these players that, if they see me out on the range and they have questions, they have no problems coming up to me and asking me, about what's in their bag, or, what the new products that have come out are, just asking for more detail.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we also have players that come out, especially, Adam Scott is one in particular who visits us a couple of times a year. Charlie Hoffman, who's pretty local, is also, in and out at TPI. Rafa Cabrera-Bello has come in and out on occasion as well. And, these guys, they are just totally willing to come out and say, hey, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be working a little bit on my equipment. If there's any prototypes you'd like me to test for you and give feedback, by all means. And Scott Stallings is another one. A lot of our players that I'm grateful for, because they are just willing to do that for us. They understand that their feedback can really help us with our designs.
Absolutely.
And they're willing to do it. They're so nice about it, and it's fun to meet them up at DPI and to watch them hit golf balls. Honestly, how can you imagine standing behind Adam Scott and watching him hit ball after ball and give you feedback about fifth interaction, and ball flight, and how the club feels in his hands, and it's just amazing to watch people of that level of talent.
Yeah. Using
their gifts. It's amazing.
For sure. No, I can't even come close to imagining listening to all of that and hearing that. And I think it has to be so rewarding for you guys to, and everyone on your team, to be standing there and hearing the positive or negative feedback, because it just means that they're willing to help you make it better. And it's not just like shot out in the dark and send it out to the stores and kind of see what happens with a rec golfer. I think it's really cool that by the time it's getting to a retail store, it has been vetted by so many people, because to me, it would make me feel so much more important that Titleist took so much time to create a product that is strong enough for the pros, but equally as great for a rec golfer.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing, is like, you may not see pros playing a couple of the products, right? Because they're not as tour specific designs. Like, for instance, we released T300 and T200 irons, which are we call them the players improvement category and the players distance category. However, those guys do hit those products for us and give us their feedback, interestingly enough.
That's awesome.
And it's really fun to watch those guys even hit those products as well, and get the questions that you get from them about, wow, this thing goes so much farther than my iron, and it's interesting that none of us are playing irons like this, and one person in particular was Jeff Ogilvy. He basically asked me, he was like, why aren't we all playing irons like this? And I said, there's two reasons in my opinion. I said, one is that you guys are just not used to the way these irons look. So they're larger, more offset, clubs. And because, how golfers are, aesthetics are very finicky. And that's one of the interesting things about golf club design as well. That golfers really care about how something looks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second reason I gave him was, I just don't think any of you want to, completely retool your game to where you have to get used to a whole new way of playing in terms of the distances you're going to hit with each iron, right? So having known, these players, having these players know what they're playing that's in their bag, they're just used to the distance that they hit. They have a level of consistency and confidence with that. When they hit their 7-iron, it's going to go X number of yards. Now, if they were to switch to a set like one of these others that I had mentioned, it's going to go now X plus maybe 13 or 14 yards versus what their old set was. And do they really want to figure that out all over again?
Yeah, reset all of their calibrations. Yeah, for sure.
Right. I'm not so sure, right? Especially when, it's their livelihood and, the dollars are on the line.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so interesting because I remember, and it wasn't too long ago, maybe a few weeks, I guess, that the new tour bag came out. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think maybe JT had a little bit of a hand in helping design and things like that. Why do you think aesthetics are so important to these, to the players and not just functionality?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It is that type of game though, because like I said, it's so mental, right? Confidence plays such a huge factor in golf.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not confident with the way your club looks, the odds are you're just not going to like. You're just not going to like the overall performance.
Yeah.
Like, people, if they don't like the looks of the golf club, they would rather just not even hit it sometimes. They'd rather just we'll decide, I can't play something that looks like that.
So interesting.
It is. That's a very unique thing to golf. And it even gets subtle in terms of how the face of an iron is shaped. They'll talk about how thick the top line is, or how round the toe is, right, or how square the toe is versus, and how that makes the iron look more upright or more flat, or it makes it look open or shut. It's a little nuts, if you think about it.
Yeah.
That someone will just not want to, even try the product based on how it looks. It's really? Okay.
All right, back to the drawing board.
Yeah, this is just not for me. Okay. But, and then there's others that are just they're just so used to what they've been looking at. If they played a certain shape for a long time, like I said, there's a comfort level that comes with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comfort level comes with confidence and, and the performance, right? To me, performance, when you're confident with the tools in your bag, it's going to show up in the performance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go back to something you mentioned before. You said you go to a couple of tour events a year, and you go to additional when there are launches. Do you get to pick the tour events you go to?
Sometimes. It just depends on when the prototypes in our development cycle show up. It's a timing of when those show up, and it's appropriate to take it out to have a larger set of tour players experience it for us and give us feedback.
Okay.
I've used, I've used the Korn Ferry Tour. I've used the PGA Tour as well. And more recently, our reps from the Champions Tour and LPGA have also invited me out to use them as well. And it's an interesting proposal because the speeds of your typical LPGA pro, I'd probably say fit your average male golfer. I mean, not your, super high level, amateur, but your average male golfer, they're probably pretty close to an LPGA Tour player in terms of the distances they hit and the speeds that they swing at. Also, Champions Tour similarly as well, but they would be on the higher end of the speed and distance range, I think, for your average male golfer.
Okay.
So it's interesting. That might be in our future here soon, but we'll see.
What have been your favorite tournaments to go to?
Oh, wow. You think about that. There's different reasons to go to different tournaments or why they would be my favorite, right? Because certainly the golf courses, they're all beautiful. I mean, if you can imagine PGA Tour conditions, it's not like there's a dog of a tournament.
No, not at all.
There are times of year and weather that are less desirable. Like I'd say, there was a period where I was going to a tournament in Jackson, Mississippi, in the middle of the summer.
Oh yeah, no,
not so good. Right?
Yeah.
That was a little miserable to be standing out on the range all day for 3 days in that kind of heat and humidity. But yeah, I was just at the last one I went to. There was a club called Scioto, which was actually not far from the Memorial Tournament. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, absolutely, right up the street.
Just a beautiful facility. I've been to Riviera. That's beautiful. I've been to what's the other one on the East Coast near Washington? Really big clubhouse. Gosh, why am I blanking? You'd think I would memorize all these things, but
I think you have a lot going on in your head that you have to memorize with these clubs.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, if you think about it these days, like we just released 7 sets of irons, and each one of those sets have anywhere from 8 to 10 lofts, and
that's crazy.
They all have different center of gravity properties and different performance targets. So that's a lot of stuff.
How do you? I mean, as you're saying that, how do you remember all this? Because, like you said, some players may not switch right away. So you're thinking about the clubs that they're already on. And they could be something that's I mean, for them, like decently, quote unquote, like old. And then you have players switching to these. How do you remember who's on what? So when any of your tour reps are calling you and saying, hey, JT gave this feedback or something like that, exactly what they have and how they may need to adjust or something like that to get what they should be seeing on a club. Right.
So there's a couple of things. So there's the direct feedback from the tour reps, and there's also the fact that we have this relationship with Darrell Survey. So the Darrell Survey, essentially, they track every tour player's clubs week in, week out. So
got it.
And we get access to that data, so you can see, so-and-so's got this in the bag now. So if you look at a Darrell Survey report, typically something that's new in their bag or changed in their bag for this week is highlighted in boldface. So it's like, and then it's when I can go through that, when if I didn't see it show up on the tour rep's report, I can then shoot them an email or text saying, hey, what about so-and-so? I noticed that he put this new long iron in the bag. What came out? and what was the reasons, what was he looking for that he ended up in the new product, right? And that's really it. It's this feedback loop of player, tour rep, Daryl survey, and back and forth, because the tour reps also spend a day or two in the office. They're not always out on the road. They're mostly out on the road, but they do spend a couple of days in the office, and they come back and we'll meet at times as well. One other thing is that we'll also have some meetings set up a couple times a year where we'll have the tour reps and R&D get together, and essentially we'll discuss what's been going on since we met last, right?
Okay.
So from their side of things, they can present, what's going on there, what they see, what their if they see any holes in the product line or needs that we don't have currently. And then from our side of things, we can kind of present to them, hey, here's some new technologies that we're working on, and what we think would be a good fit is kind of discussed in those meetings.
That's really cool.
From there, you make the decisions as to what to go forward on with the tour specifically in mind.
Have there been any products as you're coming out of these meetings that everyone's super excited about, and then the players got to them and were like, nope, no way?
That's interesting. I don't think I can think of one.
That's good.
At least for irons. No, it's been pretty good so far, and at least with Titleist, it's been, let's see, 14, 16, 18. It's been 5 product launches in terms of major product lines. So since I've been with Titleist, at least 5 major product lines. And there hasn't really been one that's been a dog.
That's good. Hey, you never know.
This latest, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but that's really speaks to the process, though, right?
Mm-hmm. It does, absolutely.
We're trying to get that feedback, and we're trying to do enough testing before releasing it to have high confidence when you go out.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like as long as we continue to do that process well and to continue to improve that process, you really should be able to avoid like a total dog.
Yeah,
thing.
Absolutely. What are some of your tips that you would give a recreational golfer when they're picking out new clubs?
Wow. It depends on what their goals are, right? So I'm going to talk to somebody about what their goals in golf are.
Okay.
How much do you want to practice? How much better are you looking to get in terms of their game? Like, are they really going to be working on their ball striking, often by hitting a lot of golf balls and taking lessons? Or do they just want to be able to pick up a golf club every now and then and play once in a while, right? Yeah. Because certainly the more forgiving clubs are going to fit that last golfer.
Okay.
Right. If there's someone who's more serious and wants to get more serious about their game and really work on their game, selecting irons, especially for me, I'd be recommending something that's not quite as forgiving, so that they can work on their ball striking. And the thing is, if you're playing clubs like the Tour's playing, these are the types of clubs that I'm talking about. And that we have a club like T100, which offers a high level of forgiveness, but it's still an iron that's not very big. It's not very offset. It's something that offers a certain level of distance and performance, but not quite as much as our largest iron. So really, that's kind of how I would approach it. It depends on the personal goals of the golfer.
That's really interesting. Can you purchase, like what you were talking about, the more forgiving clubs to start as you're like just maybe starting out or getting into it and then replace different clubs at different times? Or do you recommend if you're going to go for it, like replace all of your irons and like work on that game and then your driver or your putter or something like that?
I mean, certainly, yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that as well. I mean, you can start them out. I mean, if they're really, really a beginner, to start out with something forgiving just to help them solidify their interest in the game.
Yeah.
Is a good thing, right? So you don't want to make it so hard in the beginning that it turns them off. Right. That they can't, start someone off with muscle back blades. It's very difficult, to get a good shot off those. However, when you do get a good shot off of them, you really know, right? It's very easy to tell a really good shot with a muscle back iron versus one that's not so good. On a more forgiving iron like a T300, you can get away with a shot that's not quite as good, it's not quite as centered or pure, and it's still going to give you quite a good amount of distance and height from it. So those are the things to consider, right? So where are they in their solidification of their desire to play the game, right? So you don't want to turn somebody off. And once you have that, though, once somebody knows they're going to play golf, as their sport, and they want to get a lot better, I would certainly, recommend to them to play something that's not the most forgiving club. That way they can work on their ball striking skill. And that's not to say you can't work on it with the other clubs. It's just that, I don't know, maybe that's just me, that I think, being penalized for your miss hit when you're practicing, especially, when you're practicing is a good thing. Right? I myself have practiced with muscle backs and then switched to a more forgiving iron like a T100 to play golf, right? So I dial in my ball striking with something that's very unforgiving, and then play golf with something that's forgiving, because yes, I do want the forgiveness on the golf course.
Yeah. You want to practice when it's tough, but then go out there and not lose 100 balls.
Right. Exactly.
What do you do outside of golf? What are some of your other passions?
Wow. Well, for me, there's, I've got a couple of kids, so following them around is certainly a lot of fun. I myself have played piano since I was a young boy, and my kids have since gotten into music and have gotten into jazz, of all things.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah.
So I just love following them around. My wife also is a jazz musician, so with all of them, that keeps me pretty busy outside.
Absolutely.
All their musical activities.
Is anyone else playing golf with you?
My daughter actually is a high school golfer.
Nice. That's awesome.
So it's great. And it was funny because I introduced them both to the game when they were pretty young, probably around age 5 or 6. And, they would be hitting balls in the backyard, and I'd drag them out to the range once in a while, hit balls out there. And they were both kind of like take it or leave it. They weren't really like, super excited about it.
Yeah.
And so that's probably like 5 years ago that I sent them to a golf camp, and I said, okay, here you go, kids. I said, you guys, I'm going to put you in this golf camp. You're going to play and learn golf for about a week here in this camp. And if you like it and want to take more lessons, great. We'll get you more lessons. I said, if you don't, I'm not going to bother you about it ever again, And so from that, my son was like kind of and my daughter was like, yeah, I really like the game. I want to continue. And then she ended up, playing in JV, and then now she's playing varsity golf. So
that's so cool. That's a really great way to figure out if you want to do something long term, though. Dive into it more than just like a couple of rounds or at the range here or there, and really figure out, because it's a tough sport. And it's so mental. Yeah. You do have to have some mental fortitude to keep it going, because it can beat you up.
Right. And I think I might have pushed him a little hard early on. That might have been my own mistake. But, it's like I can see how if you're going to take your kids out on a golf course and you want them to pick up this game, you've got to keep it fun, and you've got to keep it as fun as you can for the amount of time that they are interested.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as they're not interested anymore, then it's time to go get ice cream or something, right? You never want to turn the golf course or any experience with golf into a negative time with them. If it's being at the golf course or whatever, like there were a couple of times I can think of that, they were done a little bit sooner than I wanted to be done. And so I was like, well, just wait here a second while I finish this, medium bucket. And they're bored out of their minds, right? So my recommendation to other parents who want to get their kids into the game is like, keep it fun for as long as it's fun for them, then get out.
Yeah.
And then repeat the experience. Then repeat the experience over and over and over so that it's always a positive experience for them, at least while they're young.
That's awesome. That's such great advice. I do not have kids, but if they come around one day, that will definitely be something that would be really good advice to take for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I talked to, tour players, Bill Haas is one, right? So Bill Haas's father, Jay Haas, also a professional golfer. But I just like to pick his brain. I'm like, hey, so Bill, it's like, how did you get into golf? It's like, or when did you get into golf? And actually, between him and his brother, they were both saying, "Oh, we really didn't get into golf till we were like 13 or older." And I was like, "Wow, really? It's your dad?" They're like, "Yeah, we always figured that would be there. Golf was going to be there because their dad was a professional, and so they essentially went and played every other sport they could imagine: football, baseball,
yeah,
basketball." They got all that out of the system and then eventually came back to golf. So even if they don't take it up early, there's always a chance that on the back end of things, they'll come around.
Yeah, there's still hope. There's still hope. That's awesome. Well, Marni, it has been absolutely amazing to chat with you this evening. Would you be open to playing a quick 9?
Sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, let's just answer whatever comes to mind first, all right?
Okay.
All right, cool. Favorite club in the bag?
My 60-degree wedge.
Favorite memory in golf?
Hole in one.
Ooh, nice. Where did that happen?
Yeah, 125-yard pitching wedge at Balboa Golf Course. It's a 9-hole golf course downtown San Diego on hole number 2. And there's a little story behind that too, in that I had a friend who made a really awesome chip in for birdie right after I made my hole in one. And I said to him, any other day that would have been a spectacular shot.
Right.
But not today. Not today.
Not today. That one's mine. That's awesome. What is your bucket list course to play?
Oh, Augusta National.
Oh, great answer. Do you prefer to walk or ride a course?
I prefer to walk, although today, as hot as it was, or yesterday, I might have reconsidered, but walking definitely. I love the pace of walking.
Yeah,
it just seems to suit my game better.
That's awesome. When you walk, do you have someone caddy or do you carry your own bag?
I actually have recently purchased an electric golf cart.
Oh, that's fancy. Yeah.
Set your golf bag on and just kind of remote control it around. It's changed the game for me a little bit in that I used to ride more, but I really like to walk, but I've had issues with my back and neck in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And pushing a golf cart was fine, but our home course is a little bit hilly, so having the electric cart is just it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is your favorite tournament to attend? As a spectator or employee, obviously.
Spectator, I do love attending the Farmers Insurance Open. It's here in our backyard in La Jolla, California. It's a Torrey Pines golf course, which is right out there overlooking the ocean. And the field is pretty spectacular. So, and I can bring my family, right?
That's huge, yeah.
When I go, and work, they're not with me. So, but bringing them, they don't, like I said, with them not really being into golf that much, it's amazing how much fun we have when we're there, as a family.
That's awesome. Are you a road tripper or a frequent flyer?
I would say frequent flyer if I have my choice.
Okay.
My wife might be the other way, but I think she's coming around.
Early bird or night owl?
What was the first part of that?
Early bird or night owl?
Oh, I am now an early bird. I used to be more of a night owl, but
same here.
Like early on in my career, I started working at like 9.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Now I start work around 7, and I really like it. So
helps you get those twilight rounds in, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you rather vacation at a lake or an ocean or a mountain?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm definitely going to put the ocean on the bottom.
Okay.
Lake for me is pretty enjoyable. Especially I've seen these vacations where people have a houseboat on a lake.
Oh yeah.
That looks really intriguing to me.
Absolutely.
I haven't done it. Although I have taken summer trips out to Colorado probably every summer for the past 10 years, and that's spectacular. I mean, if you haven't golfed in the mountains, there's nothing like it.
Really?
Yeah, if you get up in the Vail Valley over by Eagle Vale or Edwards, up in that area, the views that you can get from a golf course in the mountains are just insane. Like, you're teeing off, on a lot of holes there's just some serious elevation, and so you can see a long way, from where you're teeing off. And yeah, there's just no views like it that I've experienced.
That's awesome. That's good to know. We'll have to add that to our list.
For sure.
And what is your drink of choice?
Drink of choice. I'm going to have to say probably Arnold Palmer.
That's a good one.
The most, it's not the alcoholic beverage of choice, but, that one I drink more often than not.
That's awesome. That's such a good one.
Close second would be a Cadillac margarita, maybe.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, like I said, this has been just an absolute pleasure. Absolutely loved getting to know you. Where can we find you to continue the conversation online after this?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter.
Awesome.
At Golf Engineering. Instagram, it's Insta Marni. And just Marni Ines on Facebook. So
awesome.
Places.
Well, thank you so much. Like I said, absolute pleasure to talk to you, and can't wait to make it out to California to meet you and JJ sometime soon.
Absolutely. That'd be great.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me this week. Let's continue the conversation online. You can find me at golfishpodcast or at Miss Amy Goodman on Instagram. See you next week.